Hey guys, HalfClick up here with another R1 maintenance video for you. Today we are going to be swapping our front brake pads. Let's go! Now you can replace the brake pads on the R1 without removing the caliper from the motorcycle. However, this bike has the original OEM pads, and so I know that I'm going to have to compress the caliper piston in order to fit the new pads in there, so I will be removing the caliper. In order to do that, you have a 5mm hex head bolt to remove the hose holder, and then you have two 12mm bolts to pull the caliper off the bike. Then you can hold the caliper in hand and remove the pins and springs, swap the pads, and button it all back up. So, according to the factory service manual, there is a little kind of a pseudo bleeding process when you compress those pistons. By way of the bleed screw. It calls for employing a clear tube into a container so that when you compress the piston, the fluid is forced out of the bleed screw instead of popping the cap on the reservoir and letting the fluid rise in the reservoir. Point being, the reservoir is full of fluid, and so if we were to employ that method, it would run over the top. I'm going to avoid all that, so I'm going to follow the service manual. So what you'll need: new brake pads. I prefer EBC HH centered pads. Part number for the R1 is FA4424HH. Here's a length of 3/16 hose to affix to the bleeder screw. There's your 5mm hex head, your 12mm socket, some .4 fluid to top the reservoir off when we're done, and a little set of pliers to pull the clips out of the calipers. Alright, again, 5mm hex to remove the hose holder. Now there is a little nut that rides on the back of the fender. You'll want to grab that. Now your 12mm caliper bolts, which by the way are on there with 25 foot-pounds. That's your torque spec. Carefully, you don't scratch your wheel. And there we go, now we have the caliper in hand. We begin by removing the pin clips. It's just these little cotter clips. Do the same for the bottom pads. Now to remove the pad springs, you've got to push these little pins out. So I'm going to use my 5mm socket, the little hex head guy. Give it a push. Kind of wiggle it out of there. And there's your pad spring, pops right out. And just like that, you can remove the old pads. There you go. OEM pads, they're not extremely worn, but I want something better. Same with the bottom pad. Give the pin a push, and if you're having trouble pushing that pin, use your fingers to keep the pads spread apart. That creates the slack you need to push the pin. Look at the bugs in there. Crazy. Remove your bleed screw cover. Set it aside. Place your 3/16 diameter hose on to the bleed nipple. Nice tight fit. Have a little jug down here. Feed that line down into the jug. It's an 8mm wrench to crack the bleed screw. And you can see the fluid starting to work its way into the tube. Got the bottom ones squeezed in. All right, they are all squeezed in. All right, with all the pistons squeezed in, we can now close our bleeder. And now the new pads are ready to go in. I'm going to take some lithium grease and coat this pin. Just a very light coating to make it easier for it to slide back in there. And so inserting our new pads, kind of just hold them in place with your fingers. Just kind of cradle them with your hand there. The pad spring has a little arrow that is pointing up. Orient it accordingly. Get your pin through one pad, up above the little notch in the spring pad, through the second pad, and into the final hole. Send it all the way home. You want to turn it until you can see the little holes for the clips, so you can stab those back in there. I'm going to use a little pick to sort of push the pad where it needs to be on the outside on each side. Like so. Get your little clips. Stab them back in there. Like so. And your bottom pads, exact same methodology. Cradle them in there with the bottom of your hand. Orient your pad spring. My pre-greased pin. Again, using my pick to orient the pads to the outer edges. Helps you push the pin back in. Remember, give it a twist so you can get to the holes. Right there. Put your clips back in. And there we go. New pads are installed. Just like that. Now we got to remove this hose. Get you a paper towel and prepare for a little bit of fluid drippage. There we go. Tilt it up, it'll go down into the jug. Sweet. Put your bleed screw nipple back on. Install the caliper back on the wheel. Now, for the moment, it's important not to touch the brake lever, because I got to go to the other side and repeat the same procedure, pushing the pistons in, and so fluid still needs to move. So don't set these pads by squeezing the brake lever. We're not wanting to do that yet. Got to get the other side done first. But what we can do is go ahead and get our torque to 25 foot-pounds. There it is. Repeat the same process for the other side. Don't forget to top off your fluid reservoir. You call it done. Squeeze your brake lever, bring the pads in, take her for a spin, kind of bed the pads in, you're good to go. Any questions, drop a comment down below, subscribe and like and all the things. But as always, this has been me and that has been you. Just have to look up. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace. Goodbye.